All right, I just want to go over this quiz 3, this chapter 3 quiz here in my econ lab. It would be a good idea if you looked at some of the videos I have in Blackboard for this week's in coursework. Never hurts. But this is a chapter to read over a couple times. The economics is based on this supply and demand stuff. So let's see how many questions we got here. I think we have what, 14 questions in this quiz. So it's fairly straightforward. Again, you can take this as many times as you want since we're having a snow day here. Again, it's not due until what, next Tuesday night, this coming February 3rd. So we can ask some questions in class. If you're having trouble with something, take it as many times as you want, print it out. So let me work the problems as a student here so I don't see the answers. Suppose the equilibrium price of housing, oh, actually that's not the first one, is it? Here's the first one. Oh, here's the first one. Excess demand occurs when price is excess demand. Again, people want something a lot because it's cheaper, so it's got to be less than the equilibrium price. This is the same as before, right? It's the same as the homework. When there's excess in supply, when the price is greater than, right? So I'm not going to do these ones that I've already done in the homework. Let's see. A decrease in demand, given a typical upward sloping supply curve for a product. So we get a decrease in demand. That is going to, of course, people don't want anything anymore, so they got to cut the prices. And then a decrease in the quantity supply because people want less and less. Again, fairly straightforward here. Not much math going on here. Suppose the equilibrium price of housing recently increased and the equilibrium quantity increased as well. These changes were caused by, so this always pays to draw these graphs out. So I'm going to do my price, my quantity, I've got my initial downward sloping demand, my upward sloping supply. Hopefully you can read that. So what is this asking for? There have been changes. What happened? The equilibrium price went up and the equilibrium quantity went up. So basically it went like this. There's this new, it must be like this. So an increase in price, increase in quantity. That's got to be the only way this can work is if demand went up, shifted to the right. So never hurts to draw these things. It kind of makes sense if you get the feel of graphs. So these were caused by an increase in demand. And again, this may be worded differently when you take the test, so just maybe the opposite case. So let me check my answer. Yeah, of course I'm right. Next, oh, this one you just read the question. It gives you the answer in the, there's this little law on demand of cigarettes in Canada. So if you read this thing, it gives you the answer. Take a second. Youth smoking. So again, the same thing with this cigarettes in Canada, right? Demand for youth smoking. The initial price is $6 for a pack, right? So here we got the equilibrium is $6, so they're selling $100 of it, right? Yeah, they are. As a result of the change of the cigarette taxes by Canada, the price of cigarettes in the province decreased by 50%. All right, so it went from 50% of $6 is $3, right? So I go $3 here, then the demand must have been 120, right? So I'm supposed to use my pointing tool to draw the new point on the line, and of course I look at $3 and I move across the demand curve, right? There's the new quantity supplied. There's my new equilibrium. Again, nothing that difficult, just getting a feel for this supply and demand, how changes can occur. In a capitalistic society, in a free market, the market's always changing. So supply and demand changes. Which of the following schedule? This is too easy, right? I'm not going to do that one. It's too simple. This for $6, what's the quantity at $6, right? That's what it's asking, right? $6, what's across from there? It may be different when you take it, but there is a what kind of relationship with price and quantity demanded? There is a blank relationship between the price and the quantity demanded, right? It's a negative slope, right? Between that's why demand is downward sloping. Again, just doing redundantly, asking these questions, trying to hone it into. This is boring. Maybe it's boring for you. Again, just read this question. Read this little article here on the supply of wool, and it gives you the answer. Not that difficult. I'm not going to do that one. All right, here we go. Do a little drawing, right? The supply curve for flashlights. The Atlantic Company is shown to the right. Right, here's our supply curve. Suppose the price of materials used to make the flashlights drops, right? So again, this is affecting supply, because this is affecting the producers first, right? This Atlantic Company. So that's why we're dealing with supply and not demand. So if the price drops for their materials, they get a break on their things, then they can make more, right? And again, making things more is going to go to the right of the quantity. So we're going to draw, this is wants to do a line tool, right? Yeah. It's got to be a shift in supply to the right. Again, prices go down for something. They can produce more. It shifts supply to the right. Let me check my answer. I do like these drawing things. Maybe you don't, but let's go next. Intersection of supply and demand. Yeah. Hopefully you know that one. Just look it up in the textbook. It's not that hard. Excess demand, and again, this is just like from the homework, right? When there's an excess demand occurs when people don't want to buy it, so the price is too high. So it's greater than the equilibrium price, right? Excess supply, they got too much supply, no one's buying something basically because it's too much, too expensive, so it's greater than, when the price is excess demand. Maybe I messed this up. Excess demand when the price is less than, I should have got that right. Less than the equilibrium price, and then greater than. Yeah, it's so easy. It takes me 2 times to do it, but eventually I figure it out. Again, that's why you get multiple times to do this quiz. Get the feel for it. Okay, here, great supply and demand. Something's going to change here. So this is kind of the question I'm going to ask you on the midterm, right? It's this dynamic world. Things are always changing, so basically, we got to draw a new supply and demand curve, new equilibrium point, and see what happened to price and quantity. So let's read the question here. So it's talking about the tool company manufactures wrenches at its plant in Wisconsin. The company's demand supply curve. Great. A recent flood has damaged its warehouse. So right here, boom, I know that this is affecting not the consumers first, it's affecting the supplier, right? This producer of, what are they making? Wrenches. So the supply curve is going to change, right? And a recent flood had damage. Something bad happened. Something bad happens. There's going to be less supplied. So again, it's going to be moving. The quantity is on the x-axis. It's got to be moving to the left, closer to the, again, the origin is right here, 0, right? So using the point drawing, so here I'm going to draw a line tool to draw the new supply. Supply shifts off to the left. Here's my new supply curve. And then I got to use my pointer tool to do the new equilibrium. Right there. And then I'm going to check my answer, and then it's beautiful. So again, this is going to see this on the midterm, right? I'm going to have a bunch of these supply and demand lines, and I'm going to give a scenario. If it affects the sellers, the producers, supply is going to change, right? If it helps the supplier, the supply curve shifts to the right, more quantity produced. If it hurts the supplier, the scenario, supply curve is going to shift left. And then vice versa with the demand curve. If it helps the consumers, demand's going to go to the right. If it hurts the consumers, demand's going to go to the left. So try to look at this, try to understand this one. Increase in income, right? So here we get an increase in income. So of course, income for consumers. So I know if consumer income increases, this is going to deal with demand. I know automatically that. And restaurants are a normal good, right? So if this was inferior goods, like when incomes go up, a lot of times, restaurants like McDonald's are hurt because that's an inferior good to some people. But we'll talk about that one in class some more. It's a little more entertaining. So again, this is a normal good. Income increases. Again, people are going to want more. So demand's going to change, and if they want more, it's going to shift to the right, where there's more quantity of meals. So what am I doing here? I'm going to do my line drawing tool. Draw my demand curve going out here to the right. I do like this thing. Isn't this fun? Here's my demand 2, right? Anything else in my no pointing tool? No. And then as a result in the change to consumer income, the equal price for meals, right, will increase, right? Because if I take a look at the new equilibrium 2 up here, this is a higher price per meal, but more meals served, right? And the equilibrium quantity of meals will also increase. So again, it's fairly logical if you follow along those simple steps. I'll put these on the board on Tuesday, how you should always attack these different questions. All right, am I done yet? Oh, there's one more to go. What else we got here? Any more fun? It's a simple one, right? Man has laid off from his job. He has a wife and 2 children. Unfortunately, this happens too often. To cut back on expenses, the family's begun purchasing mega packages. Uh-oh, there's the dog waiting for me. She just came in. She doesn't know what I'm doing. She wants to go for a walk. We got to get this done. A man has laid off from his job and his wife and 2 children to cut back on expenses. The family began purchasing mega packages of generic brand macaroni and cheese, right, to use as meals. And in this case, macaroni and cheese is an example of course, it's an inferior good, right? Is there any other part? That's it. That's all this for this one. So take a look at these. It's not that hard. Please, 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 please sign up for my econ lab. We're still not over 50% for the class. I think we're just barely over 50% of people signed up for my econ lab. It's not that hard. Don't wait for the last minute. I do not look at my emails on Sunday. Right? 1 and 2, chapters 1 and 2 are due Sunday night. I am not going to look at my email Sunday. I got to go to the Super Bowl at my in-laws, which I always do. Make them dinner. All right. Have a nice day. How do I turn this thing off?